So one thing that I really wanted to look at was how we can turn the knee, or rather turn our opponent away from our K-guard entry. So when we're starting to transition from this underhook de la Riva to our K-guard, when we're looking at this like low K-guard here, it's very easy for me to turn my opponent's knee away with this hook on the outer and back of the knee. But what I'm also wanted to look at was when we have like a high K-guard where my foot's kind of hooking at the hip, and just the different ways, or rather the main way we're going to look at turning the knee from this high K-guard. So firstly, let's just look at why we want to turn the knee away. So if Noriel sees that I'm going for K-guard, he's going to try and flare his knee outwards. Okay, and so what this means is the more the knee flares outwards, the harder it is for my free leg to chop behind and access the back of his knee. If this free leg that's chopping over the top here, if it only hits the front of the knee, I can't actually get a good turn here. I can't actually turn him away. And now what can start to happen here is Noriel can potentially start to stack me from here. He can start to push my toes to the mat, and he can potentially clear my foot from his hip. So our goal with a lot of our K-guard entries, especially this high K-guard entry, is we actually want to turn our opponent's knee all the way away from us, like this. And what this does here is as I start to turn my opponent's knee away, I actually force my opponent to completely turn away as well. So I technically have exposed the back here. So what makes it really easy for me to turn my opponent's knee away, and conversely, what makes it really hard for my opponent to resist the knee being turned away, is if I lift their heel off the floor. So commonly, a lot of people like to make this gable grip at the back of the knee. This is great for creating a bend in the knee, if I can bring his knee to my sternum. But the thing is, especially with bigger guys, if Noriel wants to just kick his knee straight like this, if he wants to resist me bending his knee, it can be so hard for me to actually create a bend. Okay, the harder I pull, the more I just kind of glue myself to his knee. So gable gripping at the knee is not really our best option here. Instead, what we're going to look at is we're actually going to look at taking like a scoop grip on the ankle, like this. The reason why this is so strong is because I can get a lot more pressure, like a lot more rotational pressure with this grip when I really pinch my elbow at the Achilles here. And now what's happening is all I'm doing is I'm looking at taking my hand and I'm looking at bringing my hand towards my midline. So I'm trying to bring my hand towards my chest. And in the process here, I'm kind of flaring my elbow out as I do this, like this. And so what I've now achieved here is Noriel's heel is off the floor. If Noriel wants to turn back to me, he needs to be able to put his heel back on the floor. So what I can do to stop this once I hit this rotation here is I just take my free hand and I just cup his heel. You don't have to make a rear naked grip. I like to just make a fist and keep this fist pinched to my chest. I just cup the heel. Now if Noriel tries to put his heel down on the floor, the pressure I'm adding with this hand at the back of the heel makes it really hard. Now, when we look at attacking the back, especially when we're looking at attacking our matrix or calf slicer back take, all I'm looking at doing now is just chopping my lower shin or my Achilles to the back of his knee. The next thing I'm looking at doing from here is just sitting up and doing like a little crunch motion with my upper body and my abdominals. And what this does here is this takes Noriel's knee from a trapped position to a free position. So his knee is now free and his knee is sitting past my hips. Now, what you guys should remember here is whenever we're attacking the back from a K-guard, we want their knee to be free. If we want to entangle the leg and attack the actual leg, then we obviously want the knee trapped. But right now, because we're attacking the back, we actually want the knee free. So I'm going to sit up, I let go of the heel, and the hand that was initially holding to the heel is going to reach for the drawstring. And then my free hand that was initially chopping behind the Achilles is grabbing the pant at the very bottom, the far pant. And now all we're doing from here is using one of the two back take finishes that I went over last week. So the most basic one is I can kick his knee all the way through, like this. If his foot isn't freeing, then I place my foot that was initially on the hip on the floor, and I bring it behind. And now I'm in this like baby bolo position where I've got my feet X'd around his knee, and now I can start to look at finishing my back take from here. So don't go to the low K guard for today or for this drill. I just want you to practice going to your high K guard. So your partner's going to let you bring the foot to the hip. Once you're in this K guard position, I really want you to think of not gable gripping at the knee, but I want you to slide your elbow down to the ankle, and then we're going to look at turning the heel. So how I do this is just by really pinching my elbow around the Achilles, and then I'm punching my hand towards my chest as I flare my elbow, like this. So now if I add in a gable grip, it's really easy for me to turn the knee. Heel is off the floor, so I'm just going to cut the heel, and now I'm going to look at chopping my calf slicer hook in, and then the hand that's holding onto the heel switches to the drawstring. Sorry, before I switch to the drawstring, I'm going to do a little crunch so I can shove the knee a bit further outwards, and now I can switch to the drawstring and the far pan. And now we're exposing the back, and we can start to finish our back takes from here. Any questions so far?